Welcome into the Pats Nation. I'm Corso. Catone is here. Joe's with us in the booth. And you, hopefully, are tailgating, getting ready for this Patriots game.
Oh, they better tailgate. Well, you can't show up there without tailgating. You need to be a little juiced up to watch this game.
Get their coffee and their cruller, and they're ready to go. Listening to
did you just say?
WD.
Did you just say coffee and a cruller? What is wrong with you?
That's it. Coffee regular. Give me a cruller. Put on the Pats Nation with Corso and Catone, and we're ready to go.
Do they eat crullers anymore?
Apparently, he must be getting sponsored or something. They keep him crullers on the side, and then neither one of us are getting crullers.
He doesn't know that. He's so particular what he puts in his body. There's no way he's eating a cruller. There's no way Joe is eating a cruller.
Sunday.
But you guys are out there tailgating and having a good time, all ready to go, ready to get our preview. And you're watching us on YouTube. And make sure when you're doing that, you subscribe. Hit that thumbs up button and scan the QR code so you never, ever, ever miss a show. And, of course, you're listening on 790 The Score, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, anyway you podcast. And make sure we want to hear from you. Want to hear what you're having this morning. Want to hear what kind of libations are happening in that parking lot. So give us a call.
I want somebody to call in and tell us what the best parking lot is. Who's partying the best?
Who's number one? Let's hear about it. 855-313-PATS, P-A-T-S, or you can email us in our mailbag, corso.catone@gmail.com. Okay, we've got a good one. We're going to go QB breakdown, see what we can do to get Jacoby Brisset a little better this week because he wasn't good last week. And then we're going to go Pat's preview and talk about this Miami game and what's going to take. And, of course, Coach's Corner. And we're going to try to make you some more money. We did okay. I think we did a little bit better last week.
We did better last week.
And so we'll hit that up in Sunday spread, gentlemen. Good morning.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning. Listen, I'm ready to roll.
Good morning. I'm ready to go.
You had a little too much caffeine this morning. Oh, my God. Listen, last week's show, I left my heart in San Francisco?
Yeah. Don't leave your heart in San Francisco.
Don't leave your heart. There we go.
Did they? They left everything.
They left proof. Talk about leaving something. My God.
Guys that didn't want to get on that plane to come back.
They should have left a few more players out there.
Yeah. Is Tavai still out there? Leave him there.
Oh, you love him. You love him and Bentley, too. The best linebacker combination in the NFL. One of the best.
Yeah. And what did I say? Watch, if you want to see good linebacker play, good off-ball linebacker play, watch the San Francisco 49ers play, and lo and behold, who had a pick six?
Yep, you're right.
Yeah, so
you're right.
But let's talk about the guy that threw the pick six. Let's do it in QB breakdown. Let's do it now.
Okay, now.
Hit it, boys.
All right, so last week, Mark, Jacoby Brisset, we talked about it yesterday on Corso and Catone, and just all the, he wasn't good. I mean, that's it. He wasn't good last week, period, end of story. And we've hit all that, all the things. Wasn't setting protections well, wasn't seeing the field well, throwing to the open receivers, wasn't getting them in on a good play.
The pick six was just an epitome of what he did wrong on Sunday.
Right. Held the ball too long. I had him down for 2 sacks against them, that you can credit to him. Okay, so we know what he did wrong. What does he need to do against? I mean, it's easier. It's an easier game against the Dolphins this week a little bit. I mean, they got run on. But let's talk about the quarterback. What does he need to do?
Listen,
or not do?
Well, they need to go back. I think this week, Chris, we thought maybe they would do it last week, but they just weren't able to do it against that defense. I think this week you can run the ball on Miami. I think they go back to that, Chris. They're going to go back to power football. I don't necessarily even know if it'll be with Stevenson. It may be a combination of Gibson, Stevenson. I think you're going to have they're going to go back to the running game.
Well, because the Tennessee rushed the ball for 142 yards.
You can run the ball against this team, Chris. I think you're going to see a very similar game plan that you saw against Cincinnati, running the ball, utilizing tight ends, a little bit of maybe play action. Because
what about Brisset, though?
Well, but I think you're going to take the ball out of his hands like they did against Kansas City. Not Kansas City, Cincinnati, Chris. He only had to make a couple of throws in that Cincinnati game to keep the chains moving. They're going to do the same thing this week because this is the type of game they can win this game 13-10 the way Miami's offense is playing. So that's the type of game that AVP is going to roll with. And that's the type of game he wants to play. I don't think they're going to put the ball in. Listen, they tried to, I guess, theoretically, after the Seattle game, when they got all kind of complaints about, this offense is terrible, blah, blah, blah. Nobody, the receivers aren't getting looks. They tried to theoretically open it up, I guess, a little bit against the Jets and San Francisco with little success. I think they're going to say, screw it. We don't care what the media says. We're going to go back to the Cincinnati game plan, get ourselves a win, and go to 2-3. I think that's going to be their game plan, Chris. I think they're going to have Brisset make simple reads like he's been doing. If you can run out of the pocket for a first down, run out of the pocket, avoid the sack, get rid of the ball. I think they're going to go back to that this week, Chris. They're not going to put the ball in his hands and make him make the decisions like they asked him to make against San Francisco because he wasn't capable of doing it, Chris. And against this team, I don't think you have to. You can run the ball. Tight ends, heavy packages. I think that's what you're going to see.
See, to me, I think Miami's going to make Brisset beat them. Okay. Because here's the thing. For him to have any, because again, I understand, and that's a perfect idea, okay, in a perfect world. But when the box is loaded and the box is stacked, and if Miami does, I understand Miami's offense, what it is right now at last week. Let's see what it is this week. Let's see with an extra week with Huntley, if what McDaniels. But getting to Brisset, no, I think they're going to do everything they can do to put the ball in his hands. The bottom line for this guy is simple. Not simple, but it's to the point where you say, okay, like you said, the ball's got to come out. He held the ball far too long last week, worse than any other game. I mean, it's trending down, I mean, the sack totals are trending up and his percentages are sending, you're talking about week 1, 121 yards, week 2, 149, then 98, then 168. Fine. But no touch, 1 touchdown, 2 touchdowns, a pick 6. It's just trending the wrong way for him. And so I feel like I'm hoping Van Pelt can put situations out there that allows him to get the ball out quick. And I think this coaching staff will succumb to all the guys on the inmates are running the asylum over there. So I think you will see more running. I think they're going to try to run more screens. So I don't want to get into the game plan, more so the quarterback in this segment, but I think he's got to get the ball out of his hands much, much quicker. And I think he's got to do a better job, Mark, at getting him in and out of plays. He's supposed to know this offense really well. So get them in and out of different plays. Get them out of plays where it's unsuccessful pre-snap, just looking at it, and help your offensive line set protections better. So if he can, I don't know if he can do it. I think he's going to get hurt. I knock on wood. I don't want to see him get hurt. But if you can do that, then I think he can have success in this offense, even though it's a crappy offense, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, listen, I don't think, Chris, I'm going to be honest with you. After watching him the last couple of weeks, I don't think he's capable of doing what you just described. I really don't. Listen, I don't know what Alex Van Pelt thought he was getting in Jacoby Brisset, and I don't know what he did for him in Cleveland, but Jacoby Brisset is a journeyman quarterback that can be a spot starter, give you a week or two until your starter comes back and is healthy. So I don't think what you just described he's capable of doing, Chris. I really don't. So you got a problem because do you put Drake May in? They're not going to do that, Chris. They're not going to do that. So I didn't mean to get into game plan, but the reason I didn't describe what I thought Brisset would do is because I don't think he can do what you just described. So I think they're going to go back to what they did against Cincinnati. They're not going to allow him to do what you just said because I don't think he can, Chris.
Well, we're going to see because I always feel every week that the quarterback has got to do something. He can't just run the ball on every single down. They're not good enough for that.
He's a spot starter who ran out of starts. Now
Exactly.
it's week 5, 6. He's not a starting quarterback, Chris.
Well, and then on the other side of the ball, I think you'll see Huntley again. And I think that when we talk about what to do on defense, we'll get into that. But that's who I think you're going to see on the other side of the ball. So you got to hope Jacoby Brisset outplays Huntley. It's going to be a bomb.
Well, you are going to see Huntley. I don't think they can go back to Skylar Thompson. He's horrendous.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens there. But QB Breakdown was presented by Corso Law Group, Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm, corsolawgroup.com. Allow us to be your voice. Hey, when we come back, going to preview this game coming up in Pat's preview. Stick around.
No one ever thinks they will be in need of a criminal or traffic lawyer, but things happen. Corso Law Group is Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. Call or go online to corsolawgroup.com and talk with these expert attorneys.
Back in with more Pats Nation. Okay, so Miami Dolphins coming up, 1 p.m. Eastern's coming up in a few hours, and we got to give you our keys to victory. We're going to do it in Pat's preview. We're going to do it now.
Pat's preview.
So, Mark, talking about this game now today, and, the overall view, it's funny because this week, you actually, I didn't hear him, okay, originally. And then you called me and said, hey, you listen to Belichick, what Belichick had to say in this situation. We get the coach's corner. I just was thinking about that. I'm like, I can't wait to play that when we get the coach's corner. But, this week I heard a lot of Greg Bedard of the Boston Sports Journal, okay? I heard him talking about the overview of this team, talking about them on defense. And, we respect him. He makes a lot of good points. Joe, do we have that audio? I want to play that.
It's not good. It's worse than I thought. I mean, you guys talk about this being a bad team, and they are right now. But, I would say, we knew coming in that they had below average talent, at best. I think they had below average talent. But, with proper coaching, you figured that they would be coached up a little bit and have the potential to be a little bit better than their talent. That is decidedly not happening on both sides of the ball. It's not just the offense. It's also the defense. There are all sorts of things going on that are going wrong. The amount of blown edges that I thought was a lot last week or the end of Seattle on defense was even more. It was double, triple in this game. You have Devon Godchow going on radio talking about how some of the players are playing selfish. You have wide receivers in Pop Douglas and Jalen Polk who are throwing temper tantrums after plays. Like, to me, and I'm just telling you what I see on film, I see a team that's unraveling at this point.
A lot to unwrap there, Mark, in this, what he had to say. And he's, listen, I got him right on every one of those counts, And so let's break it down. I mean, talking about the offense. So we hear from him, Greg Bedard, Boston Sports Journal. We hear from him the issues of this team. Now, they're playing Miami. So let's go to your keys to victory. What do you see? Let's start with the offensive line. What's going to happen? We talked about Brisset a little bit. You have no faith in him. Talk about this offensive line now.
No, but Chris, here's the problem with the offense, right? So I know everyone, and I've said it myself too, Chris, but if you watch what's happening with the Patriots, so if you dial up play action, right? Defenses are blitzing them under the center when they go to play action. And the Jets were rolling a safety down the blitz off the edge by playing man coverage in the secondary. So the coverage eliminates any conflicts for defenders in the box. You know what I mean? So the run action has no chance to develop. And teams have figured that out, Chris. So the receivers are covered downfield, and Brisset ends up getting sacked.
And consequently holds the ball too long because he's been getting hit so much he doesn't want to make that big mistake.
Consequently holds the ball too. So teams are going to pressure them, Chris. They're going to do that to them. So how do you
doing it with 4?
they're doing it with 4. But they're also running those types of schemes with safeties and blitzes and coverage. So can establishing the run, Chris, allow you to take chances downfield? I'll point to the play against San Francisco that he drew the ball up down the field. It was a 50-50 ball to Polk. You could say Polk might have gotten it was questionable whether he got the knee touched and he was in bounds or not. I know they went to the replay. They said it was an incomplete pass. It was close. Do you continue to try to just do that, Chris? Power run, but then continue to take chances. They haven't done that all year, Chris, really. Throw the 50-50 ball to Polk. Put Baker on the field. Throw the 50-50 ball to Baker. KJ Osborne hasn't practiced the last couple of days, Chris, with a shoulder. It looks like he's going to be out. So if Osborne's out, you should be able to get more playing time. Finally, maybe Baker will see the field because Thornton shouldn't see the field. Maybe it's more playing time for Butte. But, Chris, I just got done telling you Brisset can't do it. But in my analysis of the game, you're going to have to force him to try to, even though I don't think he can. Throw the ball. You're going to have to throw those 50-50 balls, Chris, and maybe you connect on a couple of them to open up the game or the field. Because how else do you prevent what's happened in the Jet in San Francisco game, Chris? You're the defensive guy. How do you prevent defenses from doing that to you?
Well, the first issue is this running game is supposed to be an outside zone blocking scheme.
That's not.
It isn't really a power run game. And so they're not having success doing that. Or the problem they had in the last 2 weeks is they get behind. And now it's the game is dictating to you that you can't just run I mean, Christ, if Miami gets up on this team like San Fran did, Miami's fine with that. Hey, run the ball. We'll open up the middle of the field for you. That's fine with us, and we'll do that. I just don't think to do what you're talking about in this type of an offense, you're going to have to do with play action. And I'm not comfortable right now with Jacoby Brisset turning his back on this defense. For play action and you're under center, the quarterback turns their back on the defense for a second to execute the play action, or RPO with mesh. The point is, now when his head comes back around, he's got to do a couple of things. One, he's got to get his brain to think nobody's going to be smacking me as soon as I turn my head around. That's first, because he's got PTSD now, okay? The second thing he's got to do is say, I got to quickly make my reads. Quickly. I can't sit and look. I got to just go. And that opens you up to turnovers. So to me, the offensive line's so bad. And by the way, Andrews is going to be out.
Yeah, he's out for the year, probably.
So your offensive line is going to look maybe like Jacob So, Leverett, Robinson, and Owinu. And that's not good.
So who's making the calls at the line? It was Andrews. He's not there.
Well,
so
it's got to be Leverett. It's got to be the center.
Can he? But is he capable? It might have to be Brisset.
Well, Brissett's got to do his share in setting the protections, and I don't think he's done a good job all year doing that. So, I mean, he's going to have to help out there too. But Alex Van Pelt's going to have to help. When we go to the coaches segment in Coach's Corner, we're going to talk about Alex Van Pelt and some of the things he's going to have to do. But from a player standpoint, the offensive line's got to get better, but chips have to happen. The running backs can't blow blocks like Ramondre Stevenson did last week. They talk about his fumble, but he had a bad friggin' game, Mark, in picking up blitz, picking up free men rushing in. He had a terrible game. So those are the kind of things. Tight ends have to chip better. But I'm with you.
Chris,
You got to establish some kind of run.
Are they even having tight ends chip though?
No, I didn't see it. They need to.
No, they're not even chipping.
I think more so than taking the shots down the field is having these intermediate routes get open better and doing things to get those guys open better. It's going to calm things down. It's going to get them. Brissett's going to get the ball out 2.5 seconds, period. That's it. If they're going to throw the ball. But you're right. To set it up, they're going to have to run the ball. It's easier to run block than pass block. You can get them. And maybe in this game, you can get a lead and it'll look like Cincinnati on offense.
And against Miami, Chris, you should be able to get a lead, I would think, against this particular team.
And we'll see how they reeled in these wide receivers
On
because
offense.
they're frustrated. They're frustrated right now. These
You're
wideouts are frustrated.
talking about our receivers.
Our receivers are frustrated. And
Yeah.
so we'll see how that's going to go.
Because Polk and Douglas last week, Chris, basically had almost like temper tantrums.
They did. They
Yeah.
did. One after the game, one during the game. And so we'll see what the coaches, we'll see what the chops are, what they're made of, because this wouldn't have happened. That wouldn't have happened last year.
No.
That's for sure.
No.
So we'll see what happens there. And on defense now. Okay. Oh, so again, Mark, so offensively, play in front of the sticks, no penalties. You can't lose the turnover battle.
No turnovers.
You know.
They're going to play a clean game, Chris. If they play a clean game, no turnovers, they should be able to produce some points on offense, Chris, against this defense. As bad as our offense is, I still think you could score 13, 16 points. And the way Miami's been playing, Chris, that's probably all you need to win the game.
You just can't get your quarterback hit 15, 20 times
Well,
again. You can't do it.
Yeah.
So that offensive line something's got to give here. So let's hope it's not Brisset with May coming in this game. I don't want to see that. And on the other side of the ball, okay, we talk keys to victory, and I want to play that Bedard on the defense, but they allowed the last 2 weeks 831 yards of total offense. Now, in the San Fran game, we talked about it yesterday on CORSO CATONE. The time of possession was pretty much even. So the nonsense about, the offense isn't getting their job done and the defense is on the field too much. That's nonsense. That's ridiculous. Okay, the defense is showing poor. They're not tackling well. They're not setting edges. They're opening up the middle of the field. The safeties are covering wrong. They're not in their coverages properly. It's just not enough of a pass rush. And Greg Bedard of the Boston Sports Journal agrees with us. Joe.
I see an undisciplined front, and I don't want to hear any crying about injuries, which I've heard. Last year, they didn't have Judon. They didn't have Christian Gonzalez. They didn't have Jonathan Jones. They didn't have Marcus Jones. They had injury issues last year. Coaching made it work. They made it work. I just see a completely undisciplined unit. I see guys that are out for their own. We talked about it last week on radio where I brought up, looks like some of these guys are freelancing, and I think there are so many gaps in the coverage. Way too much zone being played. The predictable zone, the Tampa 2. You have Jelani Tavai down the middle getting torched. Not his thing. Coaches putting him in the position for that. It's just not good. And they have like Belichick said, no pass rush. The blitz wasn't working this week. Just like the offense, not a lot working on defense.
He's right on all counts. And again, as I said, that was Greg Bedard of the Boston Sports Journal. Listen, start with the middle of the field, Mark, because let's talk about these two wide receivers for Miami, okay, in Tyreek Hill and Waddle. Okay, last week, obviously they got their issues at quarterback, right?
Yeah, that's an issue. They were like 2 for 12 on third down last week.
But the middle of the field for the Patriots is bad. Now, this team thrives on crossing routes, on some of that rub.
And Chris, they've had some issues too with their offensive line. Their quarterback has not had much time to throw the ball either. So they got a couple of guys out as well.
So what the hell do we do in the middle of the field now?
Chris,
because if Duggar is not going to play, and I didn't see the report on him, whether or not he's going to play. But let's say he doesn't play.
The key with that is going to be pass rush. We haven't had a pass rush in a couple of weeks. If you can get a pass rush on the edges, create pressure on the quarterback, that'll help you, Chris, in the middle of the field a bit. And I'm going to be honest with you, Chris. Off the line last week, initially, believe it or not, our corners didn't play bad, Chris. But he had all day to throw the ball.
Yeah.
There was no pass rush. Initially, off the line, if you go back and look at the tape, Chris, our corners, even the opposite side of Gonzalez, didn't play bad initially. But how long do you expect them to hold coverage? There was absolutely no rush, Chris. He just ran around back there.
Well, not only that, but they weren't setting edge. So
no, they weren't.
We talked about that. They allowed Purdy to get out of there. And by the way, Huntley rushed for 40 yards last week. Okay.
Oh, he'll rush for 80 this week.
So if you do what you did against Rodgers and you did against Purdy, which I have no reason to believe it's going to be different based on what we've seen over the last 2 weeks, and you let Huntley get out of there, he'll rush for 100 yards himself. So it is about a pass rush, but it's also about setting the edge and getting center pressure into his face. Okay. And setting
Keon
that edge
White,
wide
Keon
nines.
White.
Keep your ends at wide nines outside and let them just. Keon White had a bad game last. He has to play better.
White, and you talk about setting the edge. White and Uche, what's his name? Uche was one.
He changed it. He used to be Uche. Now it's Uche.
Uche.
What do I know?
Chris, they played awful. You talk about the edge.
Yeah.
Awful.
Listen, again, both of them. They're rushing from the outside upfield. They're getting upfield and they're opening the underneath up for themselves. They're not bull rushing through. They're not taking good 90-degree angles at the quarterback, and they're just allowing guys to get out and stand there and just run. And then our linebackers are not good enough to go sideline to sideline and make up for. Look, Tavai can't make them right. McMillan can't right. They can't make those ends right. And you know what I mean by that, right? If the end gets beat upfield, the linebacker's got to replace him. And they're too late. They're not fast enough.
Chris, how is it that you're playing Tampa 2 when you're expecting Tavai to cover the middle of the field?
You can't do that this week. You can't do it. You're going to want to because of the two guys you're playing against. But it isn't even so much that way. You got to disguise it better.
Chris, they keep referring to Tampa 2. But Bedard said it in a clip that we played earlier. Explain to our viewers what Tampa 2 actually is, because some of our viewers may not realize what that is.
Cover 2 is basically you take two safeties, you put them at the hashes, about 15 yards, 12, 15 off from the line of scrimmage, and you put each of them at a hash. The two corners, just basic cover 2, Tampa 2. The two corners basically sit about 7 off, and they play on a tilt, and they just sit in the flat. And so when you're running that Tampa 2, you're talking typically you have an even front. So you have like a 4-man defensive line with three backers. NFL teams will put nickel, so they'll put like 5 defensive backs. And those 5 guys, 3 backers, 2 corners, they all sit underneath. And the safeties play 2 over the top. Okay? Now, that's okay. And the way you beat that as an offense is you can run routes in the center of the field, seam routes. And you're trying to put one of those safeties in conflict, is how you do that. And it's easy to do for NFL teams if you can't disguise it. So if you're just lining up in it and you're not showing anything else,
which is what happened last week, Chris.
Now, if I were doing this, okay, if I were running this defense, I would show 2, and I bring one of those. They call some call it a robber, some call it a joker. There's all different kinds of terms for it. But you could take one of those safeties and you can bring it down and bring the safety down and replace the safety with one of the corners dropping, and now you're kind of in a cover 3, but with a safety kind of an in between there, and you're taking that Tyreek Hill across the field. That's kind of how you got to disguise things to beat, because you're talking about a guy like Huntley on the other side of the ball, who's not an experienced quarterback, so you can fool him. But that's how you got to do it. You can't just line up and say, this is what we do. They're not good enough for that.
Yeah, Covington, Chris, has had nothing.
No.
Like strategic, nothing. It's just basic. And you're right. He did no disguising last week. And San Francisco, Chris, you said did nothing like too complicated last week either. They just
their defense is not complicated. They just got the players. They got the horses. You know, that they can run not
But even on
complicated
offense,
stuff.
Chris, they weren't
On
running
offense,
a ton
yeah.
of motion, and,
No.
and they weren't doing any of that last week to beat you.
They didn't need
They
to.
bring in the local high school team to come in and play the rest of the game.
Telling you, my defense balled out the other night. They were awesome
Yeah,
against
you
the
see,
best
yeah,
team.
yeah.
Against the now the second best team in the state. We are now. We balled out because we did stuff like that. Because we mixed it up. We had movement. We had disguise. You mixed up your blitz packages. You mixed up guys who were setting the edge for you. I mean, you're right, Mark, about the corners. They're not playing bad. You know, they're not
Well,
playing
last
bad.
week I didn't
Gonzalez, I
think they
think, is
played
playing
that
good.
bad.
Yeah.
Gonzalez, Chris, is playing real good.
So if the plan is to put Gonzalez on Waddle, I think he'll be okay.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to bracket up Hill and do
Yeah.
some things with him, which nobody's been able to do. But I'll tell you what, if Duggar's not playing, if Peppers is not, if you're Pettis and you're hasty and you do
We're
what you
dead.
did last week and you don't get,
We're
you
dead.
don't turn and open up,
Yeah, we're dead.
yeah, you're dead. You're dead in the water. I don't care who's playing quarterback for them. So understand, Miami ran the ball really well last week.
Miami's
So-
got a good running game, Chris. I
Right.
mean, they got good running backs.
And we were exposed. Our size was exposed. Our defensive front was last week. So the bottom line is, if you're Covington right now, you're going to have to stop the run, and you're going to have to force Huntley to beat you. And you're going to have to force him to beat you in the pocket. And you're going to have to get a couple of turnovers.
Yeah, you don't have a choice.
That's what it's going to take.
You're going to have to
this
win the
game.
turnover battle, Chris. And if you win the turnover battle, it's probably because you played clean on offense.
Right.
Because you're going to have to play clean on offense in order to win that battle, right? You're going to, and if you want to win this game, Chris, you're right. You're going to have to win the turnover battle.
You got to play from the lead. That's it too.
Yes.
You
Yeah,
also got
you
to play
have
from the
to.
lead.
Yep.
And special teams are going to have to be what they've been, and they've been fantastic. And
That's
what
been
it's
the
gonna
best
have to
part.
be.
That's been the best unit, right? Chris,
Absolutely.
of
They're
all
playing
three units has been special teams.
lights out with the kickers as well. So that's the preview. That's what we think they're going to need. Those are the keys to victory. But Pat's preview was presented by Corso Catone. Saturdays, noon to 1 p.m. Eastern. Hey, we got Yankees, we got Boss, Celtics, Bruins. Of course, Catone's comments. You never want to miss that. He was all up in arms yesterday, Joe, about the Pete Rose not getting into the Hall of Fame. God rest his soul. But when we come back, we're going to go into the coach's room and the coach's corner. No flipping.
Mark, I'm serious. I think I lost my mind.
Certainly, it was an exciting show.
I want Murray.
What?
That's
crap?
it.
What is wrong with
Get him on this damn
you?
show.
Lost your mind tonight.
That's all I have to say.
Lost your mind.
What are you writing now?
So I'm working over here. You're talking about nonsense. I'm working.
That's why we are the real deal New England Feel. It's going to be real.
Back in with more Pats Nation. Oh, yeah, it's going to be real. All right. It's going to be real for sure. Real ugly today.
Listen, at this point, I hope the our listeners that are tailgating have had a couple of pops at this point, because they need something to get themselves ready for this game.
Mark's going to come out to join you. In fact, next week, Mark will come after the show. Mark's going to show up over there in the Houston game. He's going to show up and he's going to tailgate right with you. So
Just
let's-
gonna
I'm
leave them out there in the parking lots, brother.
I gotta get.
Yeah.
Maybe I gotta give out some stuff next week, Chris, in the parking lot. To
Absolutely.
our fans.
email us in corso.catone@gmail.com. Hey, tell us which tailgate you want Mark at next week. God help you.
I'll bring a bottle of bourbon. It will be all right.
Yeah, just make sure it's not Canadian Mist, you know?
No, I don't drink that Canadian Mist. What's wrong with you?
Okay. Let's talk about what the coaches need to do today. We're going to do it in Coach's Corner. Joe, are we ready?
Coach's Corner.
Move the ball and can't score. Got a touchdown off
You
the
had
field
to
goal,
play this. You had to.
63-yard field goal, whatever it was, or field goal, and then got a touchdown off the fumbled kickoff. But otherwise had a hard time moving the ball. I think there are some pass rush issues there. There are some scoring issues, and the Joey Sly is a great. That's a great addition for him. They got a good kicker. That's a big upgrade from where we were last year.
Yeah, Mark. So, of course, that was Bill Belichick earlier this week. And
Big upgrade for us with him. We never were able to have sound bites from him ever when we first started this show.
Well, they're
Now
gonna
we
get.
get some. We're
Of
updated too.
course you played what Belichick said. Of course you did.
He was quiet after the Cincinnati win, and it's been
He
building
hasn't been
week after week
quiet
after
since,
week.
right? Yeah. But
Yeah.
Joe, but Chris, the piece we missed in that clip, because he goes on for a little bit, he also is asked by the show where he was on what's the guy's name? McAfee. McAfee asked him about about Drake May and about what's Mayo doing with him, and Belichick basically says, "Well, I don't know. I guess he's got a plan. I don't know the plan, but I guess he's got a plan."
Yeah,
Like,
I don't know the
real,
plan.
like,
I mean, I'm not there, but
yeah. I guess he says, "I guess he's got a plan." Like
he's got a
real
plan.
sarcastic. I guess he's got a plan.
Oh, you know he's sitting there. He's kicked back and that wherever the hell he is in New England, and he's just loving what he's seeing right now. I don't think he's loving it.
No,
I mean, he has
Chris,
guys that played there,
Chris,
and his son
Chris, when he
coaches there.
says, I guess he's got a plan. Like, what's like that's telling you because he don't know. Like, he's basically telling you, I don't think he knows what he's doing, but I guess he's got a plan, right?
Look, I'm
That's
never
what
going to come
basically telling you.
That is what he's telling him, telling us. I'm never going to disagree with it. Look, I don't like how he's treated. I don't like the way Kraft did him. I don't like how he did that. I don't like how the dynasty was. I don't like how Mayo they threw Elliott, Mayo, Wolf, Mayo. They threw them all in a bus. Go for it, Bill. You be you, man. You be. Is that what the kids say? You be you. You be you.
Go have a Queller and a cup of coffee with you.
This guy.
Okay. So, Mark, let's talk about Mayo. Does he have a plan?
I don't listen.
Because he's not taking good control. His game management has been poor. His press conferences have been kind of weird. Guys are losing their minds on the sideline. Rookie, second-year players, 6th-round picks are having temper tantrums.
The inmates are running the asylum, Chris, at this point. It seems like it's getting to that point, right? Listen, we played this game. We saw this act before. The Crafts hired Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll, at that point in history, wasn't ready to be a head coach. We know the history after he eventually does well in Seattle. But at that point in time, he wasn't ready to become a head coach. Right. Gerard Mayo is not ready to become a head coach. Okay, he's not. Kraft's doing it all over again, Chris. What did he do? He got rid of Pete Carroll and hired Belichick. So, like, what are you doing? You saw this act before. You want to go back in history and do the same thing? I mean, are you kidding me?
Yeah. Yeah, listen, and it just going down
to the players coach. That always works out well. Hiring the players coach. Right,
listen, I told you already. They needed to be Slowick and needed to be Peters as the GM, and we would have been in good shape at this moment. But we're not. And so with him, and when you go down to the football part of it, the nuts and bolts of everything, my whole thing coming into the season, what's he going to be game manager? We had the best coach that ever did it. Okay, but he's not. I'm not expecting him to be Belichick. But God, look, 4th and 3, you punt from the San Francisco 40. Why are you doing that? Kittle, the ball drags on the ground for a first down. First half of the game, challenge it.
Flag. Doesn't challenge it. Doesn't do the flag.
Things like this before half, the use of timeouts, just the organization of what they look like.
On that 4th and 3, though, right? So you punt, but the 3rd down call was the call. Like, so the 3rd down call was horrible. Remember?
Yeah, well, the 3rd and 3. When they had that 3rd and 3, and why not run the ball there?
Why not run the ball, pick up a yard and a half, maybe 2 yards, and now it's 4th and 1, and now you're in, But instead, they attempted to run something that got blown up, as everything else Van Pelt tried to do on Sunday. So, whole sequence, Chris, was wrong, run wrong.
Yeah, and I don't think Mayo's on the same page with Alex Van Pelt either. And because and you're going to see this all year long, because that wasn't his guy. He didn't pick him. That was Elliott Wolf's guy, because Mayo didn't have anybody he could pick. He was a one shot and over with Nick Caley. That's the only guy he knew.
One trick pony. That didn't work. And you're right. He had nobody else to go after.
Yeah, nobody to go to. So now he's sitting in the back seat to begin with. Yeah. I mean, he's sitting in the back seat with other guys making the decisions, and Alex Van Pelt's just giving him that BS story and talking over his head.
Let me ask you a question, Chris. It seems to me Mayo would be more willing to put May. Not that I want to see May in there, but it seems to me Mayo was more willing. If it was up to Mayo, Mayo would have May on the field.
I agree.
I think it's Van Pelt that says, nah, he's not right. We can't put him out there, Gerard. I'm not doing that. And I think, like you said, Gerard's taking a back seat and saying, okay, we won't put him out there yet. But I think Mayo wants to, just based on some of the little things he has said in his press conferences.
Well, because listen, you don't know what you don't know. This is the problem with picking this guy and not having one of his people, his guy, as an offensive coordinator that he can trust fully. You know, when you come over there from the defensive side of the ball, you know, Alex Van Pelt's talking over his head now. And so now I'm not saying Gerard Mayo, you play in this league, you know some offense, but
I was going to say he's going to have some knowledge of offense.
And I'm sure he does.
Linebacker, right?
But Alex Van Pelt has more. You know, so when you go to AVP and you say, look, you know, Drake May, I mean, you know, because what else can we do? We don't have the guy coming through the door that's an offensive lineman. We don't have an IU coming through the door. Maybe they'll trade for Devontae Adams. Heard about that this week. I doubt it.
Devontae Adams we're not even on his list of teams he's interested in, Chris. And you know what? The Raiders, they said, are only asking for a second-round pick and maybe like a fourth round, like another little compensation after that, like a second and a fourth. I
don't know if he's got a no-trade clause. I don't know, but the teams that are mentioned by him. Well, it's not going to be
not publicly,
us.
but privately, like have been leaked out there. We're not on that list, that's for sure. It's the Jets. It's New Orleans. It's Pittsburgh.
Well, so again, we don't have a guy like that. So when Mayo goes to Van Pelt and says, I think we need to play Drake May, it's the only thing we could do. Van Pelt starts talking about the offense now. He starts talking about the tendencies and this and the offensive line, and this is the type of style we're doing, and this is why it may not work right now, and his development is only here and not here, and you know, it just gets over Mayo's. It's too much for Mayo to say, okay, all right, okay,
yeah,
he says okay, and that's it, and that's what you have. That's it appears to be the dynamic of what's happening over there. So I don't think Mayo's got full control of his team. I said it in the offseason. I said it in the summer. You had a horrible Catone's comments where you dogged me on it, but it's what it is.
He'll be bringing this up all season long, Joe. Catone's comments.
Never going to end now. Never. Not even if you buy me a cruller, it won't happen this morning.
Listen,
Mark,
for those of you in the Pats Nation, listen, I'm going to say this. Mr. Corso loved when we drafted N'Keal Harry as a
let's
wide
talk
receiver.
about Alex.
He's still not on the roster.
Yeah, I know. And you're saying we got to see what Thornton is this year because you know speed. You sounded like that.
So we got to talk about the Dolphins game.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Okay, Mark. Alex Van Pelt now today.
Yeah.
What does he got to do? You started talking about it in the last block. I couldn't get him to talk about Brisset. You dead set. You're always dead set. I want to talk about Alex Van Pelt. So here it is. Talk to me about what is this guy going to need to do today to get this thing right?
Maybe do you think we possibly today will see some bubble screens? Will we see some bunch, some motion, some rub routes, some crossers? Like, is there any chance that we'll see something that's typically run in 2024 NFL? Do you think we'll see any of what we just talked about today? Any way to help your quarterback from getting sacked and banged and hit? There are things, Chris, you can do offensively to help your quarterback from getting pressured. Other teams do it, Chris. Quick outs, quick slants off the line. Use your slot receivers. There's things you can do to have Brisset make a quick read and get the ball out, Chris. He's not doing any of it.
Yeah, you got to do things to slow Brissett's mind down.
Yes.
You know, his feet down. When you get hit as many times as this guy's gotten hit, he's gotten hit like what? I mean, 15, 30, 40, 60, 50 times? I mean, 40, 50
Chris,
times?
now's the time to use Douglas.
30,
like you say Douglas is one of the quickest guys in the league, 10 yards.
10 yards and in, yeah.
10, 15 yards and in. Well, now's the time to use him, Chris.
He's been open. I mean, he's been open. Look, like I said, Alex Van, you're right. There are things you can do to calm Brisset down a little bit so that when he hits that back foot, he can make a read. But, you know, you got to do things first to protect your offensive line. and the way you do things is as you talk about. You chip, you bring a tight end in to chip block and then get out into the flat, use your running backs in that regard. It'll be interesting to see, by the way, with Mayo, just to go back a second. If Ramondre Stevenson is starting this game, then Mayo he's not. The inmates are running the assignment.
They've dropped some hints that he they're evaluating everything, and they've kind of hinted maybe he's not starting this week, but we'll see. I mean, he's fumbled in 3 straight games?
4. So he lost 2 of them. So again, with Alex Van Pelt, I agree with you. Bunch formation, bubbles, chips, drop 2-3 step and out. I mean, you could do that with a rub route, 3 step out, boom, boom, boom. Try to get Brisset comfortable, feeling good about moving that ball down the field. You know what I mean? Slowly, quickly, and then get
Chris,
his mind better. That's how it has to happen.
Some of the sacks he took last week, if it's not there, Chris, make a quick decision. Do the old Tom Brady. Throw the ball at a receiver's feet so nobody can catch it. It's not going to be intercepted, and live to play another day.
Yeah, I can't keep listening to the biggest attribute of our quarterback is that he's tough. That means he's not good in all the other places.
That's a bunch of
if you're relying on he's tough. So Van Pelt's going to be a lot better, but you're not going to see pre-snap motion. You're not going to see it. You're not going to see motion.
Last in the league.
That's not what that offense is. It's not what it is. But
you better. How could you be last in the league in 2024 in motion, pre-snap motion? Do you know how bad that is?
Yeah, I mean, it's all that. It's Savansky in Cleveland is the same. They're down at the bottom. McCarthy, they're down at the bottom for Dallas because that's the offense. And that's
the old style West Coast offense. They didn't evolve it like the rest of these guys. Andy Reid came from that offense, but he evolved it, Chris.
Yeah, exactly. And so
how is it possible, Chris, that I know we're against the clock, but how is it possible that not only you last in pre-snap motion, you have a quarterback who can't get rid of the ball. You would think that would help him by making the defense read something.
He's not capable. Alex Van Pelt is not capable of it. He's not capable of this. He can't change. And number 2, I don't think he's very capable of calling a game. Okay. I think the game speeds up for him, and I don't think he can handle it. He's a quarterback coach. That's what he is. He's a quarterback coach. He's not an OC. And then on the other side of the ball, Covington, too much blitz, now too much zone. Disguise, more disguise. He's got it, like we talked about in the last block, do a little better on where you're placing your guys, how much pre-snap movement you have. Make it difficult for Huntley to read what he's seeing on the other side of the ball. If you don't do that, then Miami's going to look good on offense, period. Those are the things he's got to do. You got to make it tough for Huntley to read your defense.
You know what's funny, Chris? In that Cincinnati game, he threw a lot of different looks at Burrow, and he did it late. He disguised what they were actually in. And then all of a sudden you hit week 2. I don't know what happened to that, and he hasn't really done it since, Chris.
Right. Because Cincinnati wasn't, because that was more about Cincinnati. That's why.
Okay. And we had said that. And we said that after the game, too.
Yeah. Remember, you said by week 6, that win won't look as good.
It's not going to.
So we'll see what happens today. Let's see if they could do the things Mark and I are talking about to put the team in the better position to win. But Coach's Corner was presented by Corso Law Group, CorsoLawGroup.com. Hey, we come back. We're going to try to win you a little bit of money. Sunday spread is next.
No one ever thinks they will be in need of a criminal or traffic lawyer, but things happen. Corso Law Group is Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. Call or go online to CorsoLawGroup.com and talk with these expert attorneys.
Back in with the more Pats Nation. All right, Mark. Last week wasn't bad. I got killed with Arizona. That was a real stupid pick, I guess.
Yeah, but you know what? You've been riding and for them, and you've been pretty good about picking the right side in those games. You've been, I'm
going to do it again this week too. But I tell you what, because I Washington, I wasn't seeing it, and now I see it. I mean, Daniels now, So you start to think too, just really quick. You see Daniels coming into his own now. He's saying, I heard this week, maybe he should be started to be discussed in MVP discussions and all this. Well, that's what I heard. I mean, I wouldn't say so.
We had to go win that Denver game last year and that Pittsburgh game. We
Well,
had to win those games.
Yeah, I know. But it lends itself to the more argument of let's get Drake May on the field.
Yeah.
Let's see what he can do.
No, it does. It does.
You know, I mean, even though So, okay, talking about this week, talking about some of these picks, Mark, give the people a winner here. Come on. And we got time, Sue. So break these things down. Let's know why.
Okay, so I'm going to stick with what I said after week 1 about Cincinnati. And I'm going to take Baltimore giving a point on the road, 1.5 on the road to Cincinnati, because I think Cincinnati stinks. I do.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think they're a good football team. Baltimore's going to roll through Cincinnati this week. Trust me. That's going to be a roll through, in my opinion. They're going to roll through Cincinnati.
I'll tell you what, when you talk about that game, because they won over the Panthers 34-24, big deal. But they allowed 24 points in that game.
Who did?
Cincinnati against the Panthers.
Yeah, no, I know that.
So if Baltimore, I'll tell you this, if Baltimore was playing the way they are now against Kansas City, they would have won that game.
Yeah, they would have. They would have.
Because right now, Derrick Henry is between Jackson and Henry.
Well, if you think of what how the Patriots ran against Cincinnati, what do you think is going to happen Sunday? Oh, good boy. Oh, good Lord.
It is. And so, take that game. And what is it? It's a pick, right?
It's a pick one, basically a pick.
And Baltimore's giving it up, right?
Baltimore's giving it up. Yep.
Yeah.
Baltimore's giving it up.
What else do you have for the people, for the good people?
I'm going to do something here because it's,
Joe, he says that every week. He says, I'm going to do something here.
I know you've gone off them, but I haven't gone off them.
To do a magic trick.
I haven't gone off Houston.
I'm going to take Houston as a home dog. I'm going to take Houston getting the points from Buffalo's like 1. I'm going to take Houston. I think Buffalo had a couple of good weeks early. Everybody said, Buffalo's a team to beat again. You and I both thought they were going to regress. I think they caught a little bit of a break in the schedule early. I think they lose again this week. I'm going to take Houston at home.
Listen, I like it. I like getting a point at home. I think Houston's hitting a bit of a stride, as you say. I think Buffalo will.
I don't think Houston's played really good football yet. I think
no, but I think the last week they, and so I think Stroud. Listen, I think Buffalo's going to get run on this week. I think Stroud. I don't think they're going to do a good job keeping him in, keeping him contained, and I think he's going to make a lot of plays moving around.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's what I think. So I agree with you on that. But that's an eggs pick, man. That's an eggs pick.
Right, that's an eggs pick, right?
Because that's a game a lot of people stay away from.
Yeah, no, I'm not staying away from it. And if you want to do a teaser, a 3-team tease,
6 points.
3 teams is 9.
Oh, it's 9,
isn't it? 3 teams is 9. And you want to do a 3-team?
Not on some sites. On some sites, it's still
not on
only
some
6.
sites. It's still 6. Yeah, on some
You're
sites.
Thinking about the old days where you had to meet somebody in the alley.
No. No.
What about old days? He's still doing
I don't know. I don't know anything about that. I have no idea.
Oh, I paid for that's how I paid my way through law school.
That's exactly how someone who does still meet somebody in the alley would answer.
Yeah. That's how I paid my way through law school. I took all the bets. Yeah, Mike, go ahead.
Listen, if you're going to do a 3-teamer, I think they stink. Arizona. He's down San Fran. He's him down. And you, San Fran, is your 3rd team because I think Arizona, I think that quarterback, he stinks.
Little person. The views of Catone do not representative of the views.
But I'm shorter than he is, so I'm a little person myself. So I can say little person.
Oh, Joe's completely. He's like, that's it. He's giving up.
Down.
Well, okay, then you're not going to like mine.
Oh, you're taking Arizona.
Well, listen, because of the points. Here's why, okay? I think San Fran's good. They are. I mean, they're one of the best teams in football. But if you
I don't think they're good. I'm taking it in a tease.
yeah, that's true. If you think, though, that, because the Patriots have become a get-right team for teams. They're that team that you play where you get right. When you're not playing well, you play the Patriots and you get right again. And so a lot of people say, well, San Fran got right now because Debo's back and all that. But here's the thing. Here's the little kicker for me as to why it's 7.5 that I don't like, that half point. Why I take Arizona. Because what Murray will do, he kind of has a good game every other game. He'll move around. He'll get out of that pocket. And so that pass rush that's going to be on the edges with Bosa, Floyd, I think they're going to have a tough time containing him. And I think Marvin Harrison gets open in those situations. And that's why I think they'll keep it close. I don't think they're going to win, but I wouldn't take the money line. But I think Arizona's going to keep it close. The other game I have is the Washington. Now I'm buying into Washington right now. Okay. Washington's playing. I think Cleveland stinks.
Yeah, they do. They do.
It's a 3.5 point spread. Washington's favored by 3.5. That's a gift to me. I think Washington's going to spank them at home. Okay. So there's that. And then the other one is the Minnesota Jets game. Okay. Minnesota's
is that game in London?
Is that the London game?
That's a London game. It's on early Sunday.
Well, I don't care if it's being played in I don't care where it's being played. I don't care if it's being played in Japan. The bottom line is Minnesota is going to cover that. It's a 2.5 point spread. Take Minnesota in this game.
Chris Rogers is saying his knee's sore.
I'm not. I am not sold on the Jets. I thought they would win this division. What I'm looking at from Aaron Rodgers is a guy that wants to collect his guaranteed money and then he's out. That's how I see this. And so I think Minnesota's a good football team, Mark.
No, they are. They're a very good football team. Listen, Sam Darnold is resurrecting his career in Minnesota.
Yeah, and by the way, you're going to see Sauce Gardner. Yeah, let's see what Jefferson does this week. Let's see what Jefferson does against that team. So 2.5 points. I don't care. Take Minnesota in that game, Mark, and then our game. Okay. What the hell is the line in that? It's a pick. It's the Patriots are getting one at home from the Dolphins. What are your thoughts? Mm-hmm.
Okay, listen. So I've picked against them 2 weeks in a row. You've picked with them with the points. I've gone against them 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, we're gonna flip again. The two of us are gonna be on opposite sides again this week.
Opposite sides this week because they're at home. They're coming home. They're looking to get healthy. I think it's a must-win situation for the Patriots. They don't have a choice. But Tony Montana, the coach of the Miami Dolphins, he thinks it's Miami Vice. That kid, he's gonna resurrect the Dolphins.
Crockett and Tubbs over there.
Crockett and Tubbs take the Dolphins. 17-10 Miami.
Yeah. You're picking the Dolphins in this. Okay, I thought we were going opposite.
I went opposite. I said I changed. I said I'm going Dolphins.
You didn't pick the Patriots the last 2 weeks. What are you talking about?
No, but I've been telling you all week I was going to pick the Patriots, but now I changed my mind. Okay. I picked the Dolphins.
I thought he meant from last week. Okay, for me, I'm taking the Dolphins too. Okay, to win this game outright.
Well, I think the Dolphins are must-win too, Chris. Both teams are in desperate situations.
You know what? Hang on. Both of you should
hang on. We got 30 seconds. Go.
You should both actually bet on Miami, so we actually win this week.
Yeah. So
go ahead, Chris.
So listen. There's two ways a team can go when they're in the Patriot situation. Okay, further into the hole, or they get themselves out of it. They don't have the leadership that get themselves out of this hole. I don't believe in the coaching staff. I don't believe in the leadership of this team. If Bill was coaching this team, maybe, but he's not coaching this team. So
take those pearls.
Take Miami. I'm looking at maybe 13-6 as a final. So, enjoy that today. Let us know what you think in Heated Hotline. But the Pats Nation was presented by CORSO Catone Saturdays, 12 to 1 p.m. Eastern. We're going to have a breakdown of this Miami game next week. Catone's comments, anything else. And come back next weekend, 8 to 9 a.m. Eastern. Going to have our preview of the Texans game, and Mark will be at that game. So you never want to miss that. And so much more. We are the Pats Nation. Hey, enjoy the game.